Good morning. Parashat Pinhas. Beshem Hashem Naaseh V'Natzliach. This shiur is dedicated Le'ilui Nishmat Yechezkel Baruch ben Avraham Halevi, Hanania ben Reuven, Nisim ben Yamna, Gracia ben Zahra, Machluf ben Gracia, and all those who were murdered prior, on, and post October 7. Also for Refuah Shlema to Zechariah Dov ben Pearl Shira, Esther Chaya bat Nechama, Mazal bat Voltage Sultanat, Tova bat Zipporah, and David ben Rachel. And for all our singles, שיזכו לבנות בית נאמן בישראל, בקדושה ובטהרה. And for the bracha and hatzlacha and panasa and shalom bayit and simcha and shmira for Am Israel, and also for the hatzlacha, success of our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren in Derech HaTorah Beshalom. Thank you, Hashem, for all your chasadim. Parashat Pinhas. So in last week Parashat Balak, we learned that Zimri ben Salu, who was the leader of Shevet Shimon, came to Moshe and he wanted to marry Koziva, who was the princess, the daughter of the king of Midian. How did this happen? So the parasha told us last week that Balak had hired Bilam to curse Ben Israel. And they tried 7 times. They tried here, over there, every time they offered korbanot, it didn't help. The moment he opened up his mouth, every time only blessings came out. Hashem did not want him to curse Ben Israel. And in the end, he really said a very beautiful blessing, not just one, but a few blessings to Ben Israel. And many of them actually refer to the time of Mashiach. There's a lot in them. Maybe one day I'll make a video on this and we'll learn exactly what it is about. So, and Balak had promised Bilam that if he would curse Ben Israel, he would fill up his house with gold and precious stones, and really he had promised him a huge reward. However, Bilam did not curse; he blessed. So Balak said, I'm not paying you. You didn't do your job." So he said, "Look, if you really want to Hashem to be angry at Ben Israel, in that case, what you have to do, is, this is the plan." What was the plan? To get the girls from Midian, the women from Midian and Moab, to open up a market not far from where Ben Israel was stationed. There, they're going to open a market. The men are going to come out because women did not go out to the market at the time. And they're going to go out. They are going to see all kind of beautiful things. They're going to want to buy something from these women. And the women are going to tell them, you know what, we have more stuff inside the tent. Come, I'll show you more. And then the women actually seduce and entice the men to do avodah zarah, and to actually even, some of them unfortunately even had a relationship with them. And so the leader of Shevet Shimon, he came to Moshe and he said, "I want to marry this woman, she's from Midian." And Moshe said, "You can't." Moshe was sitting there with Aaron and the Zekanim. Moshe said, "You can't." Said, "I can't. Why did you marry Tzipporah? She's also from Midian." So if you had a heter, a way, you found a way for you to be allowed to marry Tzipporah, so it should be the same with me. And then he took her to his tent. Around his tent stood the entire Shevet Shimon, the entire tribe of Shimon. Pinchas had been there, Pinchas was shocked, along with Moshe and everybody else who was there. They were shocked at this chutzpah, at this kind of behavior. And they were so shocked that they didn't know how to react to something like this. Pinchas was the first one to wake up from this shock, and he said, just a minute, a man like this, according to the Torah, we have got to kill him. That's the din, that's the law. That's the Torah law. Moshe says, okay, so you go and do it. And Pinchas decided he was going to do it instead of giving the mitzvah to someone else. And um, then um, and what was the plan for Bilam to do all this? But by doing this, Hashem's going to get angry with Ben Israel and he's going to destroy them. That's it. Simple. Right? And um, because of this, this caused a war, Milchemet Achim, a war between Ben Israel. 24,000 men died, Jewish men. They were killed by Jewish men, unfortunately. And there was a magefa, there was a plague. And however, there were people who were very angry with Pinchas. How dare he kill the leader of Shevet Shimon? And but Hashem says to Moshe, you have got to tell Pinchas and to the rest of Ben Israel that what Pinchas did was something that was very courageous, a very courageous act. And not only this, but he was able to turn away Hashem's anger from Bnei Israel. And if Hashem would have been angry with Bnei Israel, lot more than 24,000 Jews would have died, if not most of the entire Jewish nation. So Pinchas, by his act of his brave act and his selfless act, he actually saved Bnei Israel. That action, actually, with that action, he was able to stop Hashem anger against Bnei Israel. It gave Hashem nachat. It stopped Hashem pain from seeing Bnei Israel sinning and not, because obviously it would have gotten worse. Situation would have gotten worse if the leader of Shimon would have gone on marry this woman who was not Jewish. So other Jews would have done the same thing, right? So the reward really for Pinchas was really an amazing reward, that he was going to live a very long life and forever. And that's why later on it says that Pinchas hu Eliyahu Hanavi, and at the time when Zimri came to Moshe, and then there was a war, and the Jews were killing each other, right? Those who were for Pinchas and those who were against Pinchas. And that caused a lot of pain, of trouble, of fear, of confusion, and disappointment, right? However, Pinchas was the only one who was able to stop it all. And Pinchas, after he killed Zimri and Cosby, the princess, after he killed them, he took them out of the tent to show Ben Israel that they were dead. Many people from Shevet Shimon came forward. They were going to kill Pinchas, except that Hashem sent a malach who protected Pinchas. Then also Pinchas prayed to Hashem, please, Hashem, save Bnei Israel from the magefa, because there was a magefa, a plague they started among Bnei Israel. So for saving Hashem's honor, for saving Bnei Israel for stopping the anger of Hashem, he was given a very special reward. First of all, he became a Kohen, because he was not a Kohen. Because when Hashem told Aharon, that he was going to become a Kohen and his children after him, Pinchas was already born. So Pinchas was not really a Kohen at that point. But he became, as soon as he did this action, he became a Kohen. Hashem said he is to become a Kohen. He's going to live for a very long time. Pinchas also, because he became a Malach, at the time when Yehoshua sent Meraglim to Eretz Israel, the first set of Meraglim, only two, Kalev ben Yefune and Pinchas. Pinchas was the second one, and that's why Rachav had to hide only one of them. She had to hide Kalev, because Pinchas became invisible. He became a Malach. Pinchas became the leader much later on, and he was since he was a Kohen, he was in charge of the 24 shifts of the Kohanim. In the 1 week, there were 24 shifts of Kohanim working in the Mishkan. So, Or HaChaim HaKadosh says that when Hashem said to Moshe, tell Ben Israel, tell Pinchas and Ben Israel, they have got to know that Pinchas was right, and he's getting a reward, a very special reward, as we just mentioned, because he stopped my anger, because he gave me nachat. So in Perek Chafei Pasuk Yud it says, Pinchas ben Elazar HaKohen, Aaron ben Elazar ben Aharon HaKohen, Bekan'o et kin'ati betocham. So here there are some questions. There's a question. It says that Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the son of Aharon HaKohen, it means that he was a great son of Aharon HaKohen, and by his zealous act of revenge in their midst, he stopped my anger. So really, the Or HaChaim says it should have been enough to say Bekin Ati, my vengeance, right? But Or HaChaim HaKadosh says no, it's not enough, because this here is teaching us the way through which the turning of the anger of Hashem was achieved. It needed three factors. The first one, that Pinchas saw that there was a punishable sin. This sin was punishable by death, and it was done, right? And so he raised the question to Moshe. Moshe, isn't this punishable by death? A man who takes a woman, a non-Jewish woman, and does avodah zarah, and he marries this Jewish woman, this non-Jewish woman, it goes against the Torah and against Hashem's honor. It's the king who is telling us what to do, and he's going against the king's commandment, right? And so that was the first thing, that he took action, and he went, and it was really self sacrifice, mesirut nefesh. He didn't care about his own safety, but he went and he did it. Number two, Hashem said Pinchas acted only for the sake of my kavod, for the sake of my honor, not for his own sake, not because he was going to become a hero. And he did not have any other motives. Zu mitzvah shelema. Or HaChaim HaKadosh says that makes a mitzvah perfect. And Hashem gets a lot of pleasure, a lot of nachat when an action is done for his sake. That is kin'ati, my vengeance. And number three, that Pinchas' action was done in public. A real Kiddush Hashem. It is a Kiddush Hashem when we do something in private, but it's a bigger Kiddush Hashem when it's done in public. Since we said, as we just said before, the entire Shevet Shimon had surrounded the tent, and he came out and he showed them their dead leader and the princess, and that is Betocham, that he was there surrounded by the people who actually wanted to kill him, but he wasn't scared. He knew he was doing the right thing. And Hashem says, I did not destroy Ben Israel because of him. Hashem anger had already been aroused. Hashem anger was there already. But Pinchas, with his action, he had been able to stop that anger against Bnei Israel. So Pinchas saved Bnei Israel. That was something very difficult to achieve, to stop Hashem's anger. You needed really a special zechut, a special merit to be able to achieve this. And Pinchas was able to achieve this because of his three qualities. Meserut nefesh, that's the first one. His personal self-sacrifice. He was not scared about his own life. Number two, his pure motives, only to save Hashem's honor. And number three, that he acted in public, not privately. This was an accomplishment. And it was an accomplishment of its own, just being able to stop Hashem's anger and save Ben Israel. We'll talk some more about Pinchas towards the end. However, I want to switch now to actually this period of the year, and you're going to see how we are connecting it to Pinchas. So tonight we are starting a difficult period, a period of the 3 weeks, Ben HaMetzarim, which starts from tonight, the 17th of Tammuz, and it ends with the 9th of Av. What happened? What sad and terrible things happen on the 17th of Tammuz? So the first one, 5 things happened. The first one is that Moshe broke down the tablets, the luchot that he brought down from Hashem, from Shamayim, from heaven. He broke them down when he saw the people dancing around the golden calf, the Egel HaZahav. Number 2, Apostomus burnt a Sefer Torah. Who was he? He was a Roman general during the period of the second Bet HaMikdash, or the end of the second Bet HaMikdash, and he burnt the Sefer Torah publicly. And in Masechet Ta'anit, he said, this is what says in Masechet Ta'anit, and some said that this could have been one of the Sifrei Torah that Moshe had written. The third thing that happened is Butal Korban HaTamid. There was a daily sacrifice that was offered in the Bet HaMikdash. On this day, it was canceled. They had no more animals to offer as a sacrifice. Number 4, the Choma Nifke'a B'Yerushalayim. The wall surrounding Yerushalayim was breached, was broken by the Roman on that day. And so that was like the beginning of the end of Yerushalayim and the end of the Bet HaMikdash. Number 5, on this day, an idol, a pesel, was put in the Bet HaMikdash by Apostomus. So, however, something good did happen on 17th of Tammuz, but that was a long time ago, long before the Bet HaMikdash, a few hundred years, and that was that on the 17th of Tammuz, Boaz had married Ruth HaMoaviyah. That was a happy occasion. So according to the Chatam Sofer and to Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin, that brings us to David HaMelech, to the kingship of David HaMelech and to Mashiach. Hashem already prepared our salvation long before our troubles started. Then, according to Rabbi Eliyahu Amar, then we have the 3 weeks of mourning, and that starts light. The mourning increases until we come to the 9 days, and then the 9 days it increases until we come to Tisha B'Av, when we fast. It's a day which is heavy, it is sad. And in the Masechet Berachot in Yerushalmi, it tells us that about a farmer who was plowing his field with a bull, and suddenly the bull gave out a cry, but a cry that was not regular cry, very unusual. The sound that came out of the mouth of the bull were really, really very unusual. At that moment, a Ishmaeli happened to pass by, and this Ishmaeli understood the cries of animals, and he heard it, and he told the farmer, stop plowing. The farmer didn't understand. Why shall I stop? He said, because right now your Bet HaMikdash has been destroyed. It's burnt, it's destroyed, and that's what the bull is telling you. The man was devastated. He sat on the rock and cried and cried and cried and cried. What was all his heart? And then the bull, a few moments later, the bull started again to cry. And it was again a different cry. And this time the Ishmaeli said to him, now you can continue plowing. So now this farmer was confused. What do you mean? Now you're telling me, before you tell me to stop, now you're telling me to continue? He says, yes, because the Mashiach has been born, and his name is Menachem. And then he went away. Now, Rabbi Chaim Vital, sorry, he didn't say it's Menachem. He said the Mashiach has been born. Okay, and Rabbi Chaim Vital explains that animals know things that we don't know. Right? In that time, there was no internet, there was no phone, so for news to spread, it took a few weeks, sometimes even months. So people, and this farmer lived in the north, so people all the way up north did not know yet that the Bet HaMikdash had been destroyed. So Rabbi Chaim Vital explains to us that actually animals know things that we don't know. So let me explain, tell you a story to understand this even more. In the time of Shlomo HaMelech, we know that he knew and understood the language of animals, of birds. And there was a friend of his who said to him one day, please teach me the language of birds. I want to be able to, when I hear birds chirping, I want to be able to understand what they are saying. Shlomo HaMelech says, no, it's not good. It's not good for you to know. Not always it's good to know every information. Some information, it's not good to know too early, or to know at all. It's better not to know. But the man would not stop. I want to learn. But Shlomo HaMelech kept on warning him, it's not good. It's not good to have this knowledge. But the man said, it's okay. I will deal with it. It's okay. Till finally, Shlomo HaMelech said, okay, but you have been warned. All right. So Shlomo HaMelech taught the man the language of the birds. So the man would go out and he would listen and he would hear and he would actually understand what the birds were saying. One day, he was passing under a tree and he heard two birds talking, chirping. And one said to the other, this poor man's house is going to burn. Oh, poor man, his house is going to burn. As soon as he heard this, what did he do? He said, oh, my house is going to burn. Quickly he went, he sold it. He said, okay, at least I have my money back. I don't have any loss, and my house didn't burn. Okay. So he thought that he was being smart. Sometime later, again, he hears again birds talking. And and the birds were saying, this man has a cow, but that cow is going to die. And he said, what? My cow is going to die? No, 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 no. So quickly, what did he do? He took his cow, took it to the market, and he sold it to the market. At the market. And he said, okay, I did not have any loss. Okay? And he thought he was being smart. And then, some times later, again, he heard birds talking. And what were the birds talking? What were they saying? This man is going to die soon. Wow. He got so scared. He was confused. Whoa, whoa, wow, wow, why? What happened? I still have a whole life to live. So he ran very, very, very quickly to Shlomo HaMelech. And he asked to speak to him. And he said, look what happened. Look what I heard. And he told him about the house and about the cow. And Shlomo HaMelech said, didn't I not tell you this knowledge is not good for you? Why, when you heard about that the house was going to get burned, why didn't you come to me a for advice? You went and you sold it. Why? And then you heard about your cow. Why didn't you just let it die? Why did you go and sell it? You thought you were going to be smarter than Hashem? You cannot outsmart Hashem. Hashem wanted to take this away from you as a kapara so that you won't die. But you took that away. That's the gezerah now. There's nothing we can do. Right? So sometimes Shlomo HaMelech was telling him and teaching us, sometimes there are challenges and difficulties and pain that we face in life. Right? So how do we deal with that? And Shlomo HaMelech was telling him, it should have had emunah in Hashem and hope in Hashem. But don't try to outsmart Hashem. And coming back to our story. And so the bull knew that the Bet HaMikdash was destroyed. It was burnt. And there was a lot of suffering in Yerushalayim, a lot. And this poor farmer said it was so heartbroken when he heard it. So he decided, I know the name is Menachem. I have to correct myself. The man did say that the name of the Mashiach was Menachem. So what did he do? He sold his field and he sold all his belonging. He bought baby clothing and he decided to go to Bethlehem because this is where the man told him that this new baby was born in Bethlehem. He went there. He went to the market and he decided he's going to sell this baby clothing. He wanted to find the mother of Mashiach. And he started to call the women, come, I have baby clothing. Women were walking around with their babies. And he would talk to them, speak to the babies. Oh, what's the baby's name? And stuff like this. And he showed them the beautiful clothing. And they bought. Even though there was a lot of sadness going on, but the women were trying to console themselves by buying this clothing for the babies. But he still did not meet the mother of Menachem, the Mashiach, until he saw a woman. She was walking around sad, and he called her, come, buy baby clothing. She said, no, this baby is cursed. He was born on a day that was cursed. And he has no mazal. He has a bad mazal. She didn't want to invest in this child. He said, look, I'm going to give it to you for free. Just take it. What's the baby's name? And she told him, Menachem. So he couldn't say to her that he's Mashiach. But he said, here, take. And he gave her a whole lot of clothing. And he said, look, I will come back again next year. And I'll give you again more clothing for the baby. Take care of the baby. And then she left. And the very next year, just as he had promised, again, he came back and he showed and he brought the clothing. And everyone, the women came. And she happened to be passing by um, the market. The other women were with their babies and they bought clothing for their babies. But she didn't have her baby with her. So he said, "Come, come, mother of Menachem, come." He recognized her. "Come, come, let me give you clothing for your baby. Where's Menachem? Where's your baby?" And she said, "I don't have him anymore." "What do you mean that you don't have him anymore? Where is he?" She said, "I don't know. One day there was a very strong wind that came and carried him away. I have never seen him again since that day. Maybe he was kidnapped. I don't know. I have been looking for him. I cannot find him." And so Rabbi Chaim Vital says he has been taken back to Gan Eden. He was here on earth for a short time so that he can come back again at the proper time. It was not time yet for this Mashiach at that time to reveal himself to the world. And so the as we see that um, that the 17th of Tammuz was the beginning of the kingship of David HaMelech, thereby then Mashiach, and the 9th of Av, is the day that Mashiach would reveal himself to the world. Now let's come back to Pinchas. What's the connection with Pinchas and the 3 weeks? At the time that Pinchas lived, there was a nation, Ammon. This nation wanted to make a war against Bnei Israel. And Bnei Israel needed a leader, someone who would be brave. And they went to Yiftach and they told Yiftach, "You go out to war to lead our soldiers so to fight this enemy." And so Yiftach said, "Okay." And he promised, he said, "I'm making a neder that the first thing that came to me that come out of my house when I come back from war, I will bring that as a korban and as a sacrifice." He was thinking that he owned a tzvi, a deer. He was thinking usually the deer used to come out when he would come home. It would come to him. So he was thinking the deer would come to me, so I would offer the kosher animal. I can offer him as a korban. And so he went to war. When he came back, his daughter was so happy to hear that her father was alive and he had been the leader and they had won the war. She was the first thing that came out of his house. When he realized, he said, "No, no, my daughter, my daughter." But this Yiftach, he was not really a Talmid Chacham. He was not really a learned man. His neder could have been cancelled. All he would have had to do was to go to Pinchas, and Pinchas would have cancelled, would have done Hatarat Nidarim, and that's it. But he said, "I am the leader. I'm like a king. Pinchas is the Kohen. Let him come to me." Pinchas was saying, "I am the Kohen. I'm also the leader. He should come to me." So they did not go to each other, and because of this, there was a loss of life. The daughter was not offered as a korban because she was a human being, but he built a house for her because this is what he understood he has to do. On top of a hill, she lived there all by herself until she died. She never married. She never had any children. Only once a year, her friends used to come and visit her. That was a loss of life. For that, Hashem said, "Where is the Ben Adam lachavero?" Pinchas should have been more sensitive to the girl's needs, and he should have canceled the the neder, the vow of Yiftach, but he didn't, thinking it's not my honor to go to Yiftach. And because of that, it says in the pasuk that from that day on, Hashem Shekhinah was removed from Pinchas. We are entering now the 3 weeks. Ben Adam lechavero, how we behave with other people, our social life, whether it's at home with our husbands, siblings, children, grandchildren, whoever, neighbors, anyone on the street. These 3 weeks are very important. Sinat chinam, hatred, baseless hatred, and we feel it, right? We feel it through this anti-Semitism that's going on in the world, right? But if we, each one of us tries a little bit, once a day, not to speak lashon hara, not to say words that are going to be hurtful, and hurt other people, hurt feelings. That Be'ezrat Hashem, in that merit, may Hashem bring us Mashiach. May Hashem build the Bet HaMikdash. So may Hashem's name be recognized in the entire world. Shehu Melech Malchei HaMelachim. That he is the king of the world, that he created this world, and he's the only one in the world. Shabbat Shalom.